Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on July 10th, 2024, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Karen Latin, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Channel 18 and is being recorded on the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It is being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies for documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you've been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute using *6. Online and you're not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you have been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raised hand feature. So that we have a record of a quorum, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Elise Gordon.
Present.
Janet Williams.
Present.
Cheryl Meservey.
Present.
Eric Hilbert.
Present.
Associate Member Bob Delvecchio.
Present.
And I'm here. We have established that we have a quorum. Before we begin the agenda, Paul, are there any announcements about requests for continuances today?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Yes, there are two. 509 Riverview Drive will be continued to 7/24/224. 109 Shane Drive will be continued to 7/24/224.
And Paul, we also received a request from 0 and 17 Billings to go to the 24th as well.
Okay.
That came in at maybe 9:30 this morning.
Okey doke.
At this point, Paul Whiteman, Chatham's Conservation Agent, will now lead us through the agenda.
I think he has to announce the address, though, right?
Yeah, he'll announce each as we go.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. First on the agenda, we'll skip 017 Billings based on that.
Well,
First thing on the agenda.
don't we have to read it in and
Continue.
and then?
Yeah, I was just gonna read it, but I shouldn't use the word skip.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, 0 and 17 Billings Road, Alex Pushkarev, map 7A, parcel 6-S8 and 5-S7, DEP number SE10 3310. The project is proposed repair to existing sheet pile wall. This is a phase 2 amended order request, and the applicants requested a continuance to 7/24/2024.
I move that we continue 0 and 17 Billings Road to July 24th, 2024.
Williams, second.
All right, I'll call for vote. Janet?
Yes. So, aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we're ready for the next.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is a requested order of conditions. 169 Vineyard Avenue is the address. The Douglas Ross Kimberly Revocable Trust, map 10D, parcel 90-D124, DEP number SE10 3670. Proposed dwelling additions, renovations, and associated site improvements are the project.
All right, is there anybody here for, I see Sean, okay.
Yes. Good afternoon, Sean Riley, representing the applicant. I also have Jennifer Crawford from Crawford Land Management. If you have any questions as we go through the order.
Okay, commissioners, were there any changes that anybody, or additions to the orders as we wrote them? We're doing 169 Vineyard.
Yep.
I
I didn't see anything other than, I reformatted a few things, that's it.
Yeah, we had a couple comments. Let's see what they were. They may have come out now. Okay. Yeah, I think it's just formatting.
Yeah.
All right, then.
I'm assuming you found the misspelling in the project mitigation first paragraph?
Where?
It says, the proposed house footprint is, I'm assuming it's supposed to be proposed to expand landward.
And that's under
Oh,
what?
propped.
Project
Under
mitigation
project and
description.
mitigation
It
description.
says propped
Oh.
instead of proposed.
Ah, we all missed that.
There we go.
Yes. Oh,
Then I
thank
won't
you.
Then I won't assume again.
I'll do it. I'll hold it.
All right, then, Jen, did you have anything? We're not hearing you.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Jen Crawford for the record. I did note, I went through the order pretty quickly, but I did know that there was one question on, there's an existing path that goes from the garden area. And I thought that we had discussed, and this is so long ago now, I don't remember, which is why I'm asking. I thought we had discussed that you guys wanted to just see that location on the plan. But I know that, we got held up in ZBA and some other things in the meantime. So do you want me to just put the location of that on the plan and submit it to you?
Yeah,
That would be great.
Okay, that, it should only take, we can do that and I can get a plan to you by the end of today. So
Okay.
it's not anything
Yeah,
that
that-
changes anything, it was just simply the location.
That won't hold it up.
Okay, perfect.
All
I
right.
will make sure that gets done. Thank
Anything
you.
else? Anybody? Nope. Then we're ready for a motion.
I move that we accept the order of conditions for 169 Vineyard, effective today.
Williams second.
Okay, vote. Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
All right. We're ready for the next.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Next on the agenda is a request for an order. The address is 93 Scattery Road, Scott Ward and Ingrid Goldman are the applicants, map 16J, parcel 28-9, DEP number SE 103679. Replacement of existing pool and tennis court is the project. I do have some notes from what you asked for the last meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Obviously, if you say who you are.
Yep, Tom Mulcahy, Mulcahy Design Group,
Yep.
landscape designer. Believe I sent the plant comparison plan that you requested.
Yes, we did receive that.
Okay. Are there any questions?
I didn't have any. Does anybody else have any questions about it?
I did.
Oh, I did, actually.
Yeah, so, because it's the same color, so what I'm trying to discern is the difference between, so the foundation plant's right around the structure on the approved blue flax. Are they being replaced with different plantings now? They don't?
Correct,
Oh, they are?
correct.
Ah, okay.
But, which triggered my question, and I'd forgotten about it. So are you, when you changed those plantings from what was previously approved, it looks to me like you're offering them as mitigation for this new order,
Well,
because they're
sorry.
overlapping.
yeah, well, we don't, so I replaced, because it's a new plan.
Right,
So there was previously 592 square feet of native plantings within the 50 to 100 on Blue Flax's plan.
right.
Right, and now on MDG's plan, we're showing 1,526.
But you see, in your plan, that's viewed as mitigation for this order. And my
Well,
question
there's-
is,
There's no mitigation requirement for this
no,
order.
but it makes it look like because we have two orders, some of the plantings are on both orders. So when we try and close out the previous order, those plantings are actually a part of the new order, some of them as well. So we have an overlap. And I'm thinking about when they want to close, which, what if the new order doesn't have all its plantings in yet? You want to they want to close the old order. They haven't,
see.
you
Okay.
haven't completed that mitigation.
Um,
That's the only reason I'm asking. And it's only, it's not a huge amount of area.
right,
It's just that
it's
they're
convoluted,
both
yeah.
shown on both plans.
Um,
So,
That was with another firm,
I
though,
know.
so I don't,
One way to do this might be to do and Paul, help me here if I get this wrong, a plan change to the old one that shows the pieces of this new plan that are replacing the blue flags. So it's a way of pulling them out because they technically are mitigation, because they're replacing the mitigation
Right.
plants. So, would that be something that's feasible, Paul, to do a plan change to the old plan to say these are replaced by the new plan?
The language you're using, are you a field change request or just
Plan change, not field change, plan change.
plan change? Yeah, I suppose it could be done that way. I don't see anything in, the regs that would violate that. It'd be a way to procedurally deal with that. It's a
Right.
little unusual, but
Yeah,
it would solve the problem,
yeah,
and I don't think it would violate anything.
okay.
which is, I think, what you probably need to do.
Yeah, I mean, it clarifies the file for whoever's looking at it down the road as well.
Yeah.
Which would be our agent. So
Yeah.
is that possible that you could
yeah,
come
so
forth
you'd
with a?
want me to cut out essentially the foundation plantings here that are replacing
Well,
the
you can,
foundation plantings from the previous.
yeah, if you look at it, it's really what's sort of across from the guest house, the guest house area, going across to the main residence, and then it heads to the left, and around the main residence a little. You see how you have
Yeah,
plantings on both plans. So
Okay.
that's the plan change that you would be
so
doing
a
is
plan
to,
change for the previously approved.
yeah, you would say that it's been replaced with whatever it is that those other plantings are. It just would make it a little easier once we get to a point of needing to close something. If they weren't being closed at the same time, how does the agent rectify what's going on?
Okay. But for this current submission, does it affect that?
I don't think so, because you're doing a plan change on the old one to say the plants are reflected in this other.
Right, it'll align them, so.
Yeah.
So this
So-
this doesn't need to change.
Okay.
No,
That's what I'm
it's
asking, yep.
just you need to highlight what has been done in,
On the
what's
other
been
one.
taken out of the old one and put into the new one.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have anything else? All right.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, good.
On the findings, Karen.
Mhm.
On number 12, it reads, "One existing birch tree and cherry tree will be removed."
Yep,
So it's a little bit awkward, so.
one and one,
Yes.
or two trees.
Two existing birch, well, one existing birch tree and one existing cherry tree will be removed.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything else? Okay, then we can do a motion.
I move that we accept the order of conditions on 93 Scattery effective today.
Williams, second.
Roll call, Janet,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
and I say aye. Okay, so we're
Close.
ready for the next.
Yeah, I'm just friendly reminder to close at the same time you're,
Oh, gosh, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to close the hearing and approve the order.
I amend the previous motion to both approve the order of conditions and close the hearing on 93 Scattery Road.
Okay, roll call, Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl? Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. All right, then we're ready for
Did we
the
do the
next.
other one? Yeah,
We didn't do the,
we didn't close the other.
Paul, did I
one.
close Vineyard?
no.
No.
Okay, so move to close.
Apologies on my first day as vice chair, doing all these motions. I amend.
No problemo.
I amend the motion on 169 Vineyard Avenue to approve the order of conditions and also close the hearing.
Second.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
I say aye.
We have the easy job. We just say aye.
Yeah.
Aye, aye, aye.
Yeah. Do you want Eric to?
Yeah, Eric, why don't you take on second duty?
All right, Paul, we're ready for the next.
Okay, next on the agenda is the last order of conditions to be reviewed and approved. Close the hearing. 70 Meadowview Road South, Kyle and Patricia Lissick, map 10D, parcel 16-S15, DEP number SE10 3668. The project is proposed addition, proposed attached garage, and a proposed deck reconstruction, including mitigation.
All right, we did receive, Thad is unable to be here, but we did receive 2 change requests to the order. The first is in the project and mitigation description. It's going to read, "The stairs leading up to the coastal bank and to the backyard will be replaced with at-grade stairs," taking out the word timber. This is because they would like to have the option to use natural stone as a possibility. And then condition E4, installation of access stairs. They also, it refers to stairway with posts and not at-grade stairs. So that needs to be updated to say at-grade rather than stairway with posts. Does anybody have anything else? Janet? Bob? You thinking? Okay. And I know we don't have any representatives here, but they did say that as long as those 2 changes were made, they were happy with the order. All right, Elise.
I move that we approve the order of conditions for 70 Meadowview Road South and close the hearing.
Second.
All right, I'll call for vote. Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. All right. We're ready for the next, Paul.
Okay, are we going to
Yes.
move anything up on the agenda at this point, or do you want
No.
to just continue with?
Continue
Okay.
with the extensions, and then we will
Okay,
do the
all right.
agenda change.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a request for an extension to an order of conditions. The address is 356 and 366 Shore Road. CBI is the owner. LLC map 16F parcels 25-E5 and 24A-E6. DEP number SE10 3500. The project is proposed beach access staircase, extension requested due to a shift in infrastructure priorities within the resort and limited construction timelines to perform and schedule contractors to perform the work. The order expires on 10/28/2024, so the 1-year extension will take it to 10/28/2025. And it looks like Mr. Riley is here.
Yes.
Yes, I am. Yes,
Sean.
and good afternoon again. Sean Riley with Ty and Bond representing the applicant. Paul Zust should be there in the audience. He is the acting general manager.
Yes.
Paul, I
is.
know there was, yep.
Thank
So
you.
I guess,
Thank you, Sean, for reaching out.
yep. So I know there were some questions about activities that were going on in the south lawn that you'd like some clarification on. So the inn has many activities that take place on Claflin Landing, or just off of Claflin Landing on the south lawn area. They have weddings, they have parties and conferences and lots of activities happen in the south lawn. I think some of the pictures that you had shown to me and shared with me were one of those events where they bring in some food trucks. They bring in some temporary tents. One of the images was a shed. The shed is actually an approved shed for storage in that area adjacent to the bocce court. All the activities are happening within the lawn area. There's nothing happening within the resource area. These have been going on, since the south lawn has been active. So if there are any other permits we need for any of the temporary activities that are going on, we'd be glad to apply for them with direction. So I don't know if there were any other questions about the activities, Paul?
I think my understanding is, and the chair can elaborate on this, but they just wanted the CBI representative to be here. Just to clarify that when there are, as you just noted, activities that are going on out there, to check with us, and that we have, maintain the good relationship we've always had with them, and just, continue to communicate about what's going on, so we don't have to reach out and ask, hey, what's going on? What's this all about? I think that articulates their concern and why they asked Paul to be there.
I think you've got it. But the shed is previously permitted?
Yes, it is. I can provide you the order of conditions and the certificate of compliance for that.
No, as long as it's previously, I'll believe you.
Yep.
Now, the other thing is that there's an application, this is for an extension to an order?
Yes, and in further discussions with the inn and with Paul, they're going to withdraw the application for the extension. They've thought through real timelines on this, and they've decided to just let it expire and then reapply as necessary if they look to advance that. So we'll just ask to withdraw this extension application.
Great, that makes that easy. All right, then I need a motion to accept the withdrawal of the application to extend.
I move that we approve the application and request to extend
We are approving that they withdraw.
okay. I move that we approve the withdrawal of the extension for 356 and 366 Shore Road.
Second.
Janice?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Thank you so much.
Very, very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. All right, we're ready for the next.
Right, the next one, okay, again, we have another extension request for 53 Gristmill Lane, the Marianne Renaud Trust, 207, map 15C, map 3C, DEP number SE 103276. The project is second floor alteration, remove patio, build a new patio. The extension request is to ensure restoration plantings survive. The order expires on 8/13/2024. This is the third and final extension, and it would take it out to 8/13/2025.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here representing this?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Lauren Taylor with Crawford Land Management. So like Paul said, this was issued in 2018, but the invasive species removal on the bank didn't occur until 2021. And then the plantings weren't put in until 2022. So last fall in 2023, we did a plant count and we assessed the site. And we determined that there were some plantings that didn't last through the first growing season. So we were just looking for this extension in order to maintain those plantings and replace any ones that need to be replaced and continue to monitor and maintain the bank for another year. just to ensure that the bank is able to sustain, essentially. So it's basically just for maintenance and monitoring activities.
Okay, and this is the final extension. Any other questions? All right, so we need a motion.
I move that we approve the third and final extension for 53 Gristmill Lane to August 13th, 2025.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Paul,
How would you like to,
this is the enforcement.
okay, all right. So we're gonna take something out of order here, down at the end of the agenda, is 32 Mill Hill Road. This is an enforcement order that was issued, the address 32 Mill Hill Road. The applicant is John McGrath, map 4H, parcel 23-C12, storing and dumping hazardous debris and material within 100 feet of a pond and bordering vegetated wetland. The order was signed and ratified by the commission. Crystal spoke to Mr. McGrath. He did indicate that he would be here, and the order required him to be here today at 1 p.m., July 10th, to address and discuss with the commission cleaning up the site, removing the debris, dealing with the hazardous material, and presenting the commission with a restoration plan. That was the gist of the order that was sent out. So I don't know if Mr. McGrath is there or not.
I am not seeing him, so I would say he is not here, and so, I mean, we can continue this, but to what date?
Well, generally speaking, you know, when enforcement order is issued
Right.
and there's required time and date to appear, and the applicant doesn't appear, then you have to move forward from that. I mean,
Right.
as a courtesy, we could continue it, but that means you've got to have another hearing, and it just keeps going on.
I know.
You know, he did communicate with Crystal, our permit
He did.
coordinator, and did say that he would be there. He understood what time it was. He did understand the date. Initially, he thought it was June 10th. Crystal corrected him, told him it was July 10th. And it was at, you know, we always announce all hearings at 1 p.m. because we don't know when they're going to come up on the agenda.
Correct.
So all the applicants show up at 1 p.m. So you've already ratified the order, signed it. I think now we have to move to a position of trying to get what we required in the order, the enforcement procedures taken care of, and have a restoration plan filed and deal with it at another level. But I don't think you need to continue it at this point in time, because if you do,
Right.
then you have to open up the hearing again, and it keeps
Exactly.
going on. So there have been
And this
multiple
has been
enforcement
going
orders
on a
issued
long-
on this property. Yeah, multiple
long
enforcement
time.
orders issued, no response. So I think we're at a phase where, you know, he's in violation.
Correct. So we'll just do a motion that finds him in violation, correct?
Can I
You
just,
don't
I just,
think you need to do a motion.
Okay,
You've already
good.
signed the order, so, yeah.
That was for the violation of the act and the bylaw. Now he is in violation of the enforcement order as well, which,
Right.
does that not trigger our ability to start assessing fines?
Well, you've lost that ability. Those have to be issued within a certain number of days
Yeah.
from the violation when we discover it. And this process has gone on for a while with this property, so the fine, ability to issue fines, that's kind of past at this point. I'm not sure it would do any good anyway, based on other enforcement orders that have been issued in the past for the property. So I think the fines have we've kind of lost our ability to do that.
Even if the violation is for violating the terms of the order, not for the
No,
underlying violation.
Yeah, well, it's not, he hasn't violated the terms of the order, he just didn't show up and he's not responding. So we have to take it to another level for enforcement. You can do that in two ways. You can move through the courts to do that, or you can start issuing fines. Again, those are through the district court. But, you know, the issue here is that you have a certain number of days in which to issue fines when you discover that there's been a violation. We discovered this violation some time back. A former agent wrote a letter indicating that he was in violation. It was a notice of violation letter. Those don't really have any legal effect. The enforcement order does, and that's what we should be pursuing. But there is no really separate violation for the enforcement order. I don't know who this
Okay,
person is here.
Greg just
Yeah.
stood up, so I think he'll be able to help
Okay.
us as well.
Sure, love some help.
So would we.
Greg Berman, Director of Natural Resources. And so the town is planning to talk to our new town council as
Right.
this week to discuss this. This is not just the Conservation Commission's order, but there's multiple orders out there. So it's not necessarily the fines that would be a concern, but this is a broader topic that's being addressed presently.
So at this point, do you feel we need to take any action, or just the fact that he has not shown is the action that will trigger town council and you all moving forward?
I believe the fact that he did not show up and was ordered to is the violation. I let Paul weigh in on that too, but that's the trigger for this one.
Okay. So we don't have to
Well,
do a motion?
I would, maybe, you know, in the abundance of caution, make a motion to find that Mr. McGrath failed to show up, is in continued violation of the enforcement order, and to recommend that it go to town council for further action. Just to be safe, it wouldn't hurt to do what Janet is suggesting.
Can I make one comment? Do you think we should just wait to the end of the list here? Because if he walks in after this and, you know, he's originally here on my list, he was we're talking about him last, you know, to avoid a lot of argument and fighting. Can we just wait to the end, move it to the end? And then that gives him the chance. Because if he walks through the
Well,
door.
okay,
if he
Eric,
wa-
I understand, yeah, we moved it up just because we didn't, you know, as a courtesy to Mr. McGrath, we didn't want him sitting, you know, a long
Yes.
time, then maybe possibly getting upset, that he was down at the bottom of the agenda, there are other issues that we were concerned about. But, you could, table it and make the motion at the
Yeah, I
end of the
think-
agenda. Short and sweet, just as I indicated, that he's in violation, and to recommend further action with, you know, town council to get the order enforced.
I think that's what we'll do. We'll table it and
Okay.
then we'll revisit it at the end, and if he shows up,
All right.
that would be great.
Good.
Okay, Elise, you move to table.
I move to table 32 Mill Hill Road until the end of the meeting today.
Second?
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, we're ready for the next.
Okay, next on the agenda is a submitted field change request, 227 Vineyard Avenue. The applicant is Ann Zenaro. I'm terrible with names. Map 11C, parcel D, 31, DEP number SC 103471. The project was a proposed addition and invasive species control. This was an after-the-fact field change request for an extension to an existing low native New England fieldstone wall for stabilization and garage foundation to protect from erosion caused by wind, extreme wind tides, and storm water runoff. I have a brief explanation and history. Yesterday, Jay Briggs and I met with the applicant, and Sarah Clark and Crystal were also there. And I recommended that until there was an issue of whether or not the Conservancy District bylaw had been violated and fill had been placed in and around the stone wall extension. I was fine with the extension. I was gonna recommend you approve a field change request for it, but Crystal and Sarah picked up on the fact that there might be fill. They alerted Jay to that, and then we continued it to this date so we could have a site visit, a meeting. Those two things have been done. We went out and did a site visit yesterday. David Clark's the engineer. He's going to submit more spot elevations to Jay to help him sort of resolve the issue of whether or not fill's been placed there and what he's going to do about it. So for now, I think we should just continue it until July 24th in order for that information to come in and for Jay to review it and get back to us as to whether or not there is a violation of the Conservancy District and what we can do about the field change request. So continue to July 24th is the recommendation.
Perfect, sounds good, thank you.
I move that we continue 227 Vineyard Avenue to July 24th, 2024.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, next one.
Okay, now we're on to the meat and potatoes. Notice of intent, 509 Riverview Drive, Scott Bartlett, and Kimberly Summers, map 7J, parcel C60, DEP number SE10 3687. Project is proposed construction to access stairs over coastal bank. The applicant's requested continuance to 7/24/2024.
Okay,
I move that we continue 501 Riverview Drive to July 24th, 2024.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, next.
Next on the agenda is another notice of intent, 61, I can never pronounce this, Elephant, somebody help me, Lane.
Elephants.
61 Elephant Lane, LLC map 16C parcel 36-14, DEP number SE10 3686. The project is the placement of an existing concrete wall with a vertical sheet wall.
Hello, good
Hi.
afternoon. Bob Perry for the applicant. Sophia Pilling is with me this afternoon. She's provided restorative planting details on this project at 61 Eliphamitz Lane. So we
Thank
all
you, Bob.
got that one. And we were here a month ago, or several weeks anyway, and I think we went through the project where we have a collapsed concrete wall and it's being replaced with a wall in the same location at the same height, but it's marine designed and is fairly straightforward with access directly from Eliphamitz Lane, and not a lot of complications, but I think we left off with a discussion about the restorative work. And so the applicant, Kyle Gould, contacted Sophia, and they worked on something that was a little bit of a give and take. We understood from the last meeting that there was concern about overwash and beach grass and how that would help water sort of pass through the soil more quickly. And so we talked to the owner about it, and what's now back before you is the request really that the land was a very scrappy but native grass lawn. It was a combination of native grasses and Spartina patens and different grasses that would take hold in that low area. And there was a couple of Adirondack chairs, and everybody just liked the setting. It was very simple, very small area. But knowing that you might be seeking a strip of some kind of vegetation, we're proposing a 3-foot strip. So if you can speak to along the top of the bulkhead. And with regard to water ponding back there, there is some freeboard where the ground is slightly below the wall cap, but it really won't be a big bad flood, and water will find its way out of there. And so for the interest of the applicant to have some kind of a setting that was there previously, but with an improvement to the vegetative character of the wall cap, that's what we proposed. So without any further ado, Sophia could just describe for you what she proposed for the applicant. I'll stand back. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia Pilling. So I just put together some of these species really with the root structure in mind, something that would really hold everything together. Kind of look the same with the Spartina and having some sedge in there also to mix in with what will be, you know, after construction, a seeded native fescue lawn that'll stay low. So hopefully it'll sort of blend together. And then added in a couple of flowering plants to provide some nectar for pollinators and just add to the character and the texture and the density of the planting. So this is all stuff that should both take some salt water, take some drought, take a lot of sun and wind, and hopefully checks everybody's boxes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. One question I had, how come for the coverage table, you say it's not applicable, all of it?
Oh, in your landscape table in the notice of
No,
intent?
in the notice of intent.
Right.
For your area calculations, you're saying it's not applicable, and I'm just curious why.
Great question. I have asked myself that same question, but over the years, and I think you know from the visits I have here, a lot of my work seems to be specific to the immediate coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm rarely, if ever, before you with a residential or site development project. And I have never, ever provided that chart because our work was related to really like erosion protection devices that never seem to be part of those hardscape and building area calculations. And that would be my reason. Happy to do it for you.
I love it.
Well, that would go-
Because that would tie in with mitigation and how much mitigation is needed for the work that's being done.
So we had a concrete wall that was about a foot
Right.
thick. We're gonna replace that. It'll be a little bit less of a projection, but it'll be close.
Right.
So it's a swap, except for when we fill that chart out, we're going all the way back to the landward boundaries and perimeter boundaries of the lot, and we're accounting for driveway, building area, landscape features, walkways, all that.
Well, no, we just need the coverage table for the wall. And if it's less area, then it would say it's a negative change. That's all. We just
Oh.
need for the project, not for the entire property.
Well, it's an equivalent, and I mean, I could get down
Right.
to the inches
So
on it.
then you say the current wall's this
Yeah.
many square feet, and the new wall's this many square feet, and it's a wash. And then,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, but so that we can know that the mitigation that's being offered is mitigation for the project. And, you know, usually it'll say, okay, maybe there's 0 square feet of change
right.
in what you're doing, but you say there's 500 square feet of mitigation being offered.
Right, got it.
So
Well,
that's what we
I would
need.
have to admit that in this project, we did see it as an absolute straight replacement of an unsuitable wall,
Oh, yeah.
but we're happy to do what you need. If you need us to go away again and bring back those numbers.
No, it's, if you could provide the numbers, and I'll go to the other commissioners if they have questions, but I'm not saying that stalls our moving on to an order.
Okay.
It's just for the order, we need to say if there's a change and what that might be.
I'd love to close this today.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you and me too. We have a
Well,
49.
exactly.
We have a 49.5-foot concrete wall
Right.
that fell down.
Right.
And of course, that was a much larger disturbance by that, but cleaning
Yes.
it all up and picking it all up, it's likely, I should say, if you measure it, the cap of this wall will be approximately 1 foot wide.
Exactly.
So-
So it would reflect that it's an improvement. There's less, you know,
Well, less jeopardy, but
Yeah.
would you like something after the meeting we can put in the file or just state it?
you know, you could provide it after.
That's
I
great.
don't think it's going to hold up anything. I'll let everybody else, and nobody else has had an opportunity to jump in. I mean, we just need to know
Yeah.
is it, an increase, decrease in square footage? And then how many square feet of mitigation's being done? That's all.
Fine. So your chart, I don't have it out, but that does have,
It's in your notice of intent, but yes, it says
Right.
0 to 50, 50 to
But what about in the
100,
what-
existing, and then proposed.
okay, because these oftentimes are in the resource,
Exactly.
okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah,
I'll be
it's-
doing those charts from now
It's an
on.
area coverage calculation, and it's, hardscape, but for the project, not for the entire property.
Okay.
you can
I
do it
always
for
took
the
to mean
project.
what you have on a property and how you're changing it, or
Yeah.
within the buffer, actually. But I'm good with this, and if I have questions, I'll get back to you.
That'd be great.
It's,
Anybody else have anything?
And you'll need temporary irrigation or irrigation, right?
Yeah. And that's always in our order. Anybody else? Bob?
I had a couple of questions. I think I asked the same two questions the last time, so I hate to repeat myself. But you're taking out the staircase leading up to the wall. And how are people going to access the beach? Are they going to walk through your planting?
no, because you'd be jumping 3 feet or so to the beach. I posed that question
Right,
to the
right.
applicant, and he doesn't want a stairway there if he wants to get down to that salt marsh, which is, it's a salt marsh, it's not a beach. There's a little bit of
We'll
beach
walk
there, but it's often flooded. He would just take the landing or go over to his mother's property next door.
Okay, so they won't be walking through the planting then?
No.
And
there's no plan for that.
jumping off the wall? And then the other question was, is there going to be some edging along the planting of any kind, just to protect it?
I don't think so. I think the idea is to kind of have the native seed that's gonna replace what's there for lawn, sort of knit with the two, so it can be sort of a little bit of a wild edge.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I think we can go to an order. How soon do you want your order?
Oh, well, we're not doing this right now, but October, November, although let's do a little sooner.
Yeah.
And I can provide you with some information that you asked for earlier, but
Perfect.
at your convenience, please.
And you don't have to go to ZBA, so
No.
we can do it anytime. How about we do, how about August 7th?
Yes.
We'll get it done? Okay. So,
I move that we approve the notice of intent for 61 Alphabets Lane and move it to an order of conditions which will be presented August 7th, 2024.
Second.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, Paul.
Okay, Madam Chair, thank you. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent application, 109 Shane Drive. The applicant is Andrew Pinkowitz, map 15G, parcel 74-B28, DEP number SE 103692. The project is to a proposed porch addition, second floor addition, and mitigation. The applicant's requested a continuation to July 24th, 2024.
All right.
I move that we continue 109 Shane Drive to July 24th, 2024.
Second.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
and Bob,
Aye.
and I say aye. Okay, the next.
Next on the agenda is a notice of intent application for 97 Tilapy Run, staging and access on 75 Tilapy Run, TR 97 nominee trust, map 14A3, parcels 2-B and N131, DEP number SE 103690. This was a notice of intent for a revetment. And an emergency certification order was issued for the project and expired on July 3rd. All work has been suspended until the fall. So the applicant did follow through and file the notice of intent application within 21 days of the emergency order being issued.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Dan Charmickley with Ty and Bond here, representing the applicant. And I also have Brian Angus with me here as well to answer any questions that I cannot. So I just want to thank the Commission for working with us through the emergency permitting process beforehand with this. We understand this is a unique project, kind of a unique site, so just to thank you for that. So just some background and overview on where we are currently with the project. So the emergency certifications have been issued now twice for this project. The first was March 29th of this year. That was for the sheet pile wall design that was previously presented. The next one was issued on June 3rd. That's for the current design with the underwater and above water revetment solution. The current NOI is filed as part of the what's required within the 30-day window of the emergency order, so that is what we are here presenting to you today. Follow-up information on site mitigation, site restoration is planned to be forthcoming in the future, but we are here presenting essentially what was in the emergency cert with some minor changes that were made. The NOI has been submitted to National Heritage and to Department of Marine Fisheries for review. We got a DMF letter, I believe, back yesterday, late yesterday. The NOI includes a request for a variance to work within the 50-foot no disturb buffer. And just to put the project in a wider perspective, so the work on 97 is part of a larger and overall shoreline protection project that includes 97, 75, 59, and 27 on that road. So just project need, quick reminder of kind of why we're here. The site experienced severe erosion over this winter. Late December and early January, we had a few back-to-back nor'easters that did severe damage to the site. It actually eroded back about 40 feet towards the house. A scour hole that was already there expanded quite a bit as well in front of the house. The existing revetment sloughed off down into the scour hole. So the site has kind of a unique exposure here where it is. So it's subject to wave-driven erosion of the coastal bank. Since the barrier beach has kind of moved and receded, so you're getting that wave action working on eroding the coastal beach. And then because of the large scour hole underneath it and the swift tidal currents that flow through that area, now that the barrier is fully open and has moved, you're getting that underwater velocity driven scour of the sand underwater. And so loss of the bank resulted in risk to the residents. We had numerous navigation hazards with trees falling off of the coastal bank, ending up in the water, washing up in the nearby aquaculture beds, and just kind of floating around in Pleasant Bay. And also loss of habitat because of the erosion of the coastal bank. So just some quick pictures that were included in the NOI. So this is an aerial image from June of last year, more or less what the site has looked like, I'll say for a while now, a few years. There used to be some beach in front of that. That has been gone for a few years now at this point. But the revetment was more or less in place. It was just starting to slough. You can see right there. You can see it's starting to dip down there. That's exposed sand right there. And then going forward, this picture is from February 10th. You can see kind of the absolute devastation of the site. The entire revetment is gone. You can see all the trees that have fallen in. Really just kind of alarming level of erosion occurred there in a short period of time. Here's a few pictures from the water when we're out there, just to give you a better view. So you can see, the eroded coastal bank here, the little bit of beach that had developed, and there was more or less a little bit of a shelf here, and it was a very swift drop off underwater that obviously you can't see in this picture. And here's another angle here, just showing more of the same thing. This area is kind of wrapping around the corner on the south side of the house. And so the proposed project, so we've looked at various alternatives out on the site. This kind of started with just a replace in kind type project is what we initially wanted to do, given how everything had changed out there and how quickly everything was eroding. The first design iteration was a sheet pile wall with some underwater scour protection. at the site. It was a pretty high, it was like a 15-foot high bulkhead anchored back into the slope. We went out, we did some geotechnical investigations. The soils out on site are really not suitable for a solution like that. And we also received a letter from CZM stating that they were not really interested in a vertical sheet pile wall solution due to, you know, it's reflecting wave energy back into the system. It can exacerbate erosion issues. So with that information, we went back and reworked the solution and ended up with a reconstruction and expansion of the existing armor stone revetment. So it has an 11-foot wide crest at the top, and the crest elevation was brought up to elevation 16, which is 100, I believe is 100-year flood for this area. And then the area, the revetment is overlapped with an underwater dumped riprap. So underwater, there's geotextile that extends to the bottom of the large scour hole that's there, with a 3-foot thick layer of dumped stone over that. So that holds the underwater embankment so that that soil stays there. Then you have the armor stone above that, which protects the bank from the erosion. A slight change that was made is on the crest. The armor stone's built with 2 layers of stone on the crest. We removed the top layer of stone. That area has been swapped with sand fill that is going to be planted as part of the mitigation to really try to maximize as much plantable area on site as possible. And so construction access to the site was provided by a construction access roadway that's actually on the neighboring property at 75 Tilapy. And then they worked their way down to the site to access at the shoreline there. And it's anticipated that the access road will remain in place because it is the only access point for the work on 75 Tilapy Run that is forthcoming in the near future. This is just an image of the proposed project plan here. So you can see up top, these lines here, this is the armor stone revetment that's on the coastal bank here with the flat crest. The crest is at 16 here. It steps down and works its way down to about +8 in this back area here. And then the area out in front here is the underwater scour protection stone that's installed. And this area covers, it's a little bit hard to see with the hatch, but this area covers the very steepest part of the underwater scour hole. This area right here is about 40 feet deep in front of the house. So it just covers the absolute steepest, most unstable part. And then at the scour hole at the bottom, that's where the limits of the underwater stone are. To give you just kind of some section views of what's proposed on site. So this is kind of our general sections here. You can see the historic limit. This is where the original revetment was previously constructed. This is the grade. But this is where the toe of the original revetment was constructed, sorry. The orange line here is the grade from the first bathymetric survey we have out there. So that's back in October of 2023. So you can see how much the site has really moved. This is the 11-foot wide crest with the armor stone in this area. And then we have the dumped stone with geotextile below it underwater. And in the detail here, this is essentially just a little bit more technical of a detail, but the main change that was made in the field here was for the crest here. So we added about an 8-foot wide strip of plantable area at the top of this that in the future mitigation would be planted and restored to kind of maximize as much space as we have there for plantings. So the construction status to date, so the emergency repair work started on June 3rd. So when the construction or from the start of construction to our break at July 3rd, the site has been cleared and grubbed. The underwater riprap has been installed to about station 75, which more or less brings you up to right in this area here, kind of the southern facing portion of the site. It may be a little bit beyond 75, but right around there. And then the armor stone has been installed to about station 125, which brings us around the corner a little ways to kind of this area over here. With the way the site has been eroding, the southern facing portion of the site in that corner is really been the most erodible portion of the site, and it's been finding a new home very aggressively compared to other portions of the site. So that's where we concentrated the efforts during our 30-day construction window. And then anticipated impacts. So these are the impact areas that were included with the NOI. I can talk to these if anyone has any. I don't want to just read through a table for anyone here, but we can come back to these if there's any questions on that. And then for other approvals, so the emergency NOI, the emergency ENF has been submitted to MIPA. That's currently under review with them. Chapter 91 authorization, emergency authorization was issued on June 4th.
Say anything. I'll listen to it. Nothing to say?
Oh, for the new project?
Yeah, we're doing the notice of intent. So this is Dan, I don't know who she is. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Paul.
All right. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Could you please turn off your camera? Whoops. Sonia, could you please turn off your camera? Go ahead.
All right. Army Corps of Engineers approval was issued on June 21st. There's a significant compensatory mitigation portion of that that has been taken care of. The modification to the Cape Cod Commission, DRI, was issued on February 20th for the original design, and then it was revised again for the design that's in front of you today on April 30th. So future permitting that is in the works and that will be forthcoming is a formal Chapter 91 license for the structure that's being built out there today. An ENF will be submitted to MIPA for the full shoreline project, including all 4 of the neighboring properties. ACO, so Army Corps approvals for 75, 59, and 27 are also in the works. And then there have already been Chapter 91 licenses issued and order of conditions issued for 75, 59, and 27. And with that, I'd like to open it up to any discussions and questions the commission has.
Thank you. So about probably 75% of what you have begun hasn't been completed yet under the water?
Roughly, yeah. We actually have a survey, we just had a survey done Monday. So we'll have the bathymetric data back from that, so that'll tell us the actual limits of exactly how far they got. It's probably about a third roughly of the underwater.
Okay. And then you say you will be offering a mitigation plan later. What does that mean? You're saying when the this part's done?
No, so
Is that what?
due to the emergency nature of the work, ideally we'd like to get the order approved as quickly as we can, and then have a condition for providing and presenting mitigation to the commission. Work is paused currently for the summer, but
Right.
I think it's just important for everyone to understand the emergency situation has been, we dealt with the absolute worst part of the site, but the site is still extremely vulnerable, given the fact that we're forecasted for one of the most active hurricane seasons on record, and just, with the hurricanes already starting this early. If there was an issue on site, we don't have a way without coming back to you for another emergency to continue the work or to address any issues that may arise during that process.
Well, but normally, we do ask for a mitigation plan before we approve. It's all part of the process at the same time. And we understand this is an emergency, that you want to get it as quickly as possible, but
Sure.
that is a part of the process and it becomes a part of the order. And the coverage table I see that you submitted says there's only a change of 120 square feet. Is that true?
Can I jump in here? I'm Brian E. Angus, also
Yeah.
with Ty and Bond. So there's a bit of an administrative sort of sequence here, that this NOI was submitted at this time at the request of staff, just to allow the commission to continue to allow the work to occur past the 30-day window of the second emergency cert. It was understood that the restoration and mitigation plan wasn't designed at this time because, as Dan mentioned, the sort of dynamic nature of the site and honestly, the state of design for this parcel. So we acknowledge that it's a little bit unusual for that not to be part of the NOI. I think everybody acknowledges that this is a bit of an unusual situation in filing. So the restoration and mitigation plan would be submitted either as a request for an amended order or as a condition of the order. But the impact calcs and the drawings do not address future restoration, et cetera. So that's why in the local table, those numbers reflect current design only.
So I understand that the owner has made some changes to this plan. Is that the 8 feet of sand that you were talking about? Or is there something else that has changed from what was filed?
What is presented in front of you today is what is in the NOI. That's the only change that happened from the original emergency
Okay.
cert documents that came in front of you.
So the owner has not made any further changes to this plan, because that's what I had heard.
No, the only change was that crest and adding some plantable area up there.
Okay. I'm going to let others ask any questions. Eric, go ahead.
I would say at this point, we're kind of in it to win it. So
Yeah.
how's the underlayer holding up? The first,
So far, so good. Like I said, we're getting our survey. The survey was performed Monday. I'll have that data. It should be available this coming Monday, so we can really kind of actually compare and see exactly what the situation is. With the scour hole in front of the site, the geotechnical borings that we performed, we did 3 borings in the area of the shoreline. It indicated that there's a clay layer down at roughly where that scour hole has gone. The hole has moved around, but it hasn't expanded or really gotten any deeper. So everything that we're seeing indicates that it has kind of reached a layer that's kind of unerodable, tougher to erode, and it has stabilized there.
great. That's it, thanks.
Janet?
Could you go back to the slide that has the aerial photo from February? Yeah,
This one, yes.
so that was February. Since then, so what percentage would you say of the pre-existing vegetation on the coastal bank has gone in this picture? So half of it? I mean, is it?
I guess I'm not sure exactly.
She's like from here to here and here to here.
And has any more since this was taken been
Probably
lost?
A little bit more probably, but not much, because the initial access for the first emergency order started probably a month after this roughly.
Right.
So I would say a little bit more happened, but not much.
Okay, so in all, it looks like by the time this is done, the majority of the pre-existing vegetation will have been lost.
I would say it's,
Okay.
well, I mean, roughly half of the bank.
Okay, I'm
The
just
whole
getting
bank's
to the-
gone, yeah, not just the vegetation.
So that just leads to 2 things. One is,
Yep.
where did it go? And the other is, I'm assuming that your mitigation plan will help to address some of that loss of vegetation and that you'll have some robust planting. Not sure where, that'll be interesting to see. But there is a concern, and you can see it in this photograph, and you can see it in some of the other photographs about the trees that have fallen into the waters around this site.
So as part of the initial emergency, any of the trees that were vulnerable to falling were marked and I believe they have been actually picked up by the contractor out there. It's a little bit tough because the nature preserve next door is also eroding quite a bit. There's a lot of trees coming off of that one. But every effort has been made by the applicant to take care of their trees and the issues that with the trees falling from their site.
Right, so I'm assuming that you're sensitive to the public safety issues around the navigable channel. in
Very
that
much so,
area,
and the
especially this
aquaculture in
time
the
of
area.
year.
Very much. Yep.
So if you're about 25%-ish, roughly around, and that was done on an expedited basis, I would guess, in June. Do you think it's about a 3-month job to finish this? Do you have a sense of how the timeline's gonna unfold here?
We think it's roughly about 2 months to finish the job up. There's kind of the initial growing pains and kind of getting the trial and error of getting your process for placing the geotextile and just coordinating the quarry with the deliveries to the site, all that stuff. But I would say at this point, the contractor has a very good handle on that. So we're thinking about 2 months to finish that up.
That would be great. That would get you,
That's the
well,
goal.
although you, as you pointed out, you're right in the middle of hurricane season when you're doing that, so
Yeah.
all fingers crossed on that.
Right.
No, it would be good to get it done before the winter storm season sets in, so.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this. The plan is to restart construction after Labor Day. And then, so
Right.
about 2 months
Yeah,
there. So
right.
September, October, hopefully around the end of October,
Right.
we'll be finished up.
One other thing is the list of permits that are, have been applied for, there we go. So for the Chapter 91, the ENF, the core, all of those are, I would imagine pending, they've been submitted. Is there any issue in proceeding with the project or do you have to wait till these permits are fully issued? Or can you proceed and turn them into after the fact somehow?
Well, for 97 is definitely all set. All the emergency approvals are in place for 97.
But those are emergency. Is there anything else that needs to be done to convert those into?
So for MIPA, there will be an ENF for the whole project, but the emergency ENF understands that the work has already commenced.
Okay.
91, Chapter 91 all set, water quality is all set, Army Corps is all set. So no,
Okay.
there's,
So everything that you need to proceed and complete is
Yes.
now in hand, and there's not going to be any potential delay due to permitting holdup?
That is
Except maybe
correct.
for us, but that's not, okay. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
So one of the things, before I go to others, is so you can think about it, is I am hoping that when you do come with mitigation, restoration, whatever you want to call it, that will include more removal of trees from under the water because it is a huge safety issue. So we would hope that would be a part of it. Anybody else?
I got something quick.
Sure.
So that drive that has been created for the excavators, that area is going to be all restored in the end?
Correct.
And are natives going to be added to the mix when you restore that area?
a full planting restoration plan will be provided for the construction access and upland as well. I think it is important to note that the current construction access that's in place for 97 is intended to be used for repair at 75 as well. And then as the commission knows, you've already permitted the full project at 75 plus restoration. So, but that order didn't contemplate the site access drive coming down through 75. So they're quite linked, but to answer the commissioner's question, yes, there will be a full planting plan to the commission standards for 97, and it will also address that new
access
site
road.
access. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? So I think I have this. You have the DMF letter. You said you got it yesterday?
He got it. We have a natural heritage letter. We don't have a DMF letter.
So we need the DMF letter.
Correct.
Anything else? You said you have all the approvals for 97 because of the emergency order. So those are all taken care of. Is there anything else anybody can think of that we might still need? Greg, Ted, somebody? Anybody?
Greg Bremen, Director of Natural Resources. Just wanted to make a couple of comments about the project so far. Certainly, the applicant and contractors were going through some growing pains early on, but near the, midpoint of the project, I think communication increased quite a deal, and we're very appreciative of that. Let's see, a couple of things. The trees on the property, I'm sure they have acquired a lot of trees, but if you did escape the net, as it were, I believe there's a red marking around the trees on site, so that the town has been cleaning trees much into the season to prevent potential injury.
Yeah.
So I think we have maybe about a half a dozen of the red ones, so, at some point, some kind of mitigation for remaining trees or trees that we've
Exactly.
already cleaned up should probably be included. Probably one of the other aspects that I think the applicant did a very good job addressing one of our concerns was the tide gate leading out to the island.
Yes.
So honestly, we don't have an assessment of that tide gate to show that that level and weight of trucks can proceed without causing major damage to it.
Right.
They were able to put plating down, which was much appreciated. I think it's probably, better now than when they started with those plates. So I guess, for the short term, if they're starting again in just a couple of months, they may want to leave them there. But just some kind of assessment of that area to show that, the weight and number of trucks going across it would not permanently damage that area, that the town would then have to either completely reconstruct it immediately before we complete an analysis that we're just kind of getting off the ground now. And then, worst comes to worst, if there were a lot of damage to that area and it had to be shut down, that's a large population that's not going to be able to access that area anymore. So it is important. The applicant has done a very good job. We just hope that will continue into the future. But that might want to be a condition that the commission could consider, just some kind of assessment of that gate to show that it's a viable transport route.
Great, thank you. No, I was going to ask about assuming that everything that was put into place during that conversation that I actually was able to be a part of, as well as Janet, about the steel plates and everything, that was all going to continue as it had been agreed upon previously.
The plan is to leave the road plates in place until the work is done
Okay.
this fall.
And we would put a condition in about the, evaluation of that gate to make sure that it's not damaged and can continue to function. Does anybody have anything else? So, we just need that the DMF letter, it seems. And then it sounds like we could move forward with this. Yeah, we need but we may have to say, because they said they want it quickly, that they want to submit it after. I'm not comfortable with that, but I don't know how everybody else feels about not having a mitigation plan before we issue an order.
So would it be a condition of the order that they?
Yes, it would have to
At this point, do they even know how much upland buildable or plantable land they're gonna have?
I don't even have, I don't think, an accurate coverage table as to how many square feet in,
Do you know
is
what's gonna be
affected.
left when you're done? Like how much acreage or whatever is gonna be outside of this wall?
We can certainly approximate it to get it close, but given there's ongoing construction and the bank is still somewhat unstable, I'd say that area is subject to change.
Right. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like even to think of mitigation, it's hard to know where you'll even really be able to put it quite yet.
Right.
exactly.
without having, perhaps taking up some of the patio or something to make space for, you know, there might be some redesigning that has to go on to make up for what's fallen into the water.
And I assume maybe you'll lose more trees putting in the revetment. So we'd need, you know, there are some factors that,
You still have 2 months.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you do. I understand that it was an emergency, and I know you want to start in September, but I kind of want to see all my ducks in a row. Sure.
Just to clarify, we submitted the NOI under joint MISA and Wetlands Protection Act review, so we knew we aren't walking out of here with an order. And again, we have this construction delay at the town's request. I don't think it matters too much to us if, like, we could come up with a mitigation planting plan at this point with some caveats, as everybody's discussing. It's a dynamic site, et cetera. So the mechanism doesn't matter too much for the applicant, whether it's a condition of the order, whether it is something we develop now, with the acknowledgement that it might change, et cetera. So
I'd like to at least see an attempt made and a coverage table and understanding how much, you know, I understand that it's a moving part, but right now, we don't see any mitigation. And that's hard for me to approve without seeing that everybody acknowledges, you know, and I understand wanting to submit later, but you could amend as you find out, you know, what can truly be done.
yeah, to be
And how
perfectly
much?
clear, it wouldn't be ideal for us to amend the order right after getting it. The
I
only goal
agree.
here was to submit an NOI before the end of the 30-day period. And frankly,
done.
the mitigation plan was not done yet. Now we
Right.
can do it.
That's, no,
Yeah.
and I get it. This has been a very quick process. Ted, did you want to speak?
Ted Canquist, Resource Director. I kind of missed the beginning of the conversation. I don't know if it was mentioned or discussed. I did hear that another bathymetry survey was undertaken. I was out probably, well, half a dozen times over the last month or so. In speaking with the contractor, just in general, he indicated that they had taken some surveys with their own equipment and noticed a sand wave of some form forming landward of where this deep scour hole was. I don't know if that's been,
I guess
no?
that's news to me. I don't, yeah.
Okay,
I'm aware.
well, I don't want to throw a wrench into any
Loose
work.
lips sink ships.
But my point is simply, if in fact sand has moved in, it may define how you want to do your scour apron. Because I don't know that if you can go down, if your scour hole is here and you have a sand wave inboard of that, if you're going to put rock up and over that sand.
Yep.
So it maybe, hopefully will be confirmed with the survey you got, what's down there.
Yeah, if anything changed significantly, we can revise the drawings to reflect the flavor of the week out there. It's a moving target.
Definitely is. All
More reason to get it done quickly.
Yeah, amen.
right, that's all.
Thanks.
Thank you. So, at this point, I think we need to continue.
Okay.
Hopefully you'll get the NHESP letter. Or DMF, I'm sorry, you have an HESP. And you'll work on at least some sort of mitigation/restoration plan, and if we could get an updated coverage table, because I can't believe that the only change in this property is 120 square feet. That just seemed surprising to me, but maybe it is, and
What-
I'll be proven wrong.
Part of, yeah.
Paul's got his hand up. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a couple of suggestions, but and Ted and Greg can chime in. But I understand the issue about mitigation on the property. But the whole system is dynamic. It's all connected and related to what's going on with all those trees, as Janet was alluring to earlier. Perhaps the applicant could work with the staff on removal of those tree stumps which present real navigable hazard strikes, serious injury. Even though they may not have come from his property, there's certainly the whole system's connected, and it seems reasonable, given the fact they're going out 120 feet in a channel with this trap rock, that maybe an attempt to work with us to try to develop a scheme or a plan to get those trees, as many of them out as we can, would be very appropriate mitigation for the project.
I agree, and actually had presented that as part of the plan for mitigation, because that is a safety issue and huge concern for our town.
Does the town have a list or locations, I guess, of the subject trees so we can try to quantify?
You'll have to, could you coordinate that with Paul? Is that okay, Paul?
Right. Actually, probably with Greg
Ted.
and Ted and
Yeah.
Jason, and I'd be part of it, but those guys are pretty tuned into that right now.
Greg and Ted.
I'll reach out to them.
Anything else, Paul?
No, only that the applicant was required to file a notice of intent within 21 days of the issuance of the emergency order.
And they did comply, so thank you.
Yep.
I know it's a lot to put together quickly while you're doing the work. So,
Karen,
yeah, go ahead, Bob.
and maybe a restoration planting plan for that access route.
Oh, yeah, it was absolutely a part of it.
Okay, yeah, fair enough, okay.
Anything else anybody would like to see? All right. When would you like to continue to?
What's the next meeting is 24th?
July 24th, and then we're August 7th, 14th, and 28th.
Let's do the 24th. Yeah.
So for July 24th, got it.
I move that we continue 97 Tillippy Run to July 24th, 2024.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Getting a lot on the 24th. Okay. Paul, we're ready for the next.
Next one, notice of intent, 44 Nickerson Lane, Michael Fazoli, map 7B, parcel 41-7, S17, DEP number SE103691. The project is proposed shoreline stabilization and restoration plantings.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, I'm here again, representing the applicant at 44 Nickerson, Jen Crawford from CLM. Tim Santos is also on the line from Merrill. They were the survey and engineering company that helped us with the survey and resource delineation for this project. So this is not quite, I don't think, as complicated or as serious as the last one you just got through. But nevertheless, it has a few things going on. To start off, the resource areas on the property, there's salt marsh, there is an existing revetment on 44. There's a coastal bank. Thank you. There's a coastal bank, coastal beach. There's a velocity zone, an AE zone, which are the orange lines on the plan on the screen. There's also NHESP priority habitat, which is roughly runs along the top of the revetment, and then kind of takes a dive down along around where mean high water is. So it doesn't include a lot of upland area at all within NHESP, but we did file with them and have not received comment back. There are really two parts to this project. The revetment has been in place for quite some time, and there has been some end scour on that revetment that has been on the 44 property as well as the neighboring property to the north, which is why they were included in this filing as well. So the end scour coming off that revetment they saw some more damage occur over this last winter storm seasons. I think specifically the two that came around December and beginning of January, if I recall correctly. So we have put together a project that will hopefully help alleviate that. We provided a plan that shows a fiber roll installation adjoining to the end of that revetment and continuing on to the property to the north. It is a small bank, so to speak. The top of the revetment, just for reference, the top of the revetment is at around elevation 5. And so it's very, very short, so to speak. Where we took our profile B on our plan that we were showing you, that is the highest part of that bank, so to speak, and that is at around elevation 9. So if that gives any perspective, there's about 4 feet in grade change at that elevation 9 down to where the top of the revetment is. And the bottom of the revetment is at roughly around elevation 1, mean high water's at like 1.5. So there is about 8 feet of kind of open eroding area at the highest point, at least. Most of it is much lower and more gentle. So we came up with a fiber roll installation that we want to basically build off of the end of the revetment. There are some of those very, very end stones in the revetment that have started to have some scour behind them. It's hard to see in these conditions because the vegetation kind of overlaps it, so to speak. You got to kind of poke your head in there, so to speak. But those stones are starting to become, I believe, a little bit loose just because there's nothing behind them anymore. So our intent would be to snug those fiber rolls as tightly as we can. We may need to adjust a stone or two to help make that fit and to make sure that we can anchor properly in that area. But you'll see that the installation, we actually are able to step it up as it goes further and further away from the revetment. The slope of the land really evens out to be nice and gentle on that property to the north, which is on my plan to the south. So we've really tried to taper it off and recreate a very nice gentle slope with those fiber rolls that we're hoping Wave Energy can kind of just roll up and roll off a little bit easier. There is that nice healthy salt marsh out in front, which is a great asset to this area. We have included some revegetation of those fiber rolls. It's a typical installation that you would see from our company. The other piece of the project, I should mention the construction access for this would be from the adjoining property. And we have shown that on our plan. And the neighboring property owner has been involved in the project the whole time, which is why you saw the approvals from them come through with the application. On the 44 property, we did note that there were a number of concrete boundary markers delineating a previous area of naturalized vegetation or mitigation plantings. So with that, we also noted that area, and the property had changed hands from when that was initially approved. I believe it was back in, 2012, I believe, was when that old order was issued. So the property did recently change hands, but it was clear that area had not been maintained in terms, it had definitely naturalized, but it had not been maintained in terms of invasive species. There was almost no native species left with the exception of a small stand of bayberry on the top of the revetment, and we have that noted on our plan. So that previous order of conditions basically had a condition that no invasive species management or additional planting of natives could be done without prior consent. So this is us receiving, hopefully, that prior consent from you to get that area back as was intended, so to speak, when you last, I believe, looked at this property for permit with the house that is currently there. That is really the summary version of the project. Like I said, it's much more simple than the one that you had right before this. So any questions you have, I will do my best to answer.
Anybody want to start? Thank you. Anybody want to start? No? Okay. Well, I had a question. You say in the introduction and goals that, you know, you will be removing and managing existing invasive and non-native species and revegetating with native. What, do you know how much non-native invasive there is?
It's almost all of it. Really, the
Yeah.
only area that was notable in terms of having a any sort of colonization of natives is that area right on top of the revetment that we have shown and hatched in our plan. There may be some sporadic things popping up in there, as a lot of bittersweet that's overgrowing, but per you know, our standard protocols, if we encounter natives within, we will leave them.
So also you've mentioned the neighbor 34.
Yep.
They are not a part of this application.
They
And,
are a part of this application.
okay, I only saw that it listed 44 as the applicant. So that's why I was asking.
I believe that they are listed as an additional on it. There's additional pages in the notice of intent with their signatures, and a butter notifications and everything did go out for that property as well.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Another question I had is, in your restoration notes, the initial invasive management, you say you're going to use 100% biodegradable erosion control blankets or a thin layer of wood chips or hydroseeded. What is going to determine what you're going to do?
Partially it gets determined by the time of year,
Okay.
sometimes by the slope. In this particular case, since we have, as long as we receive all of our approvals in a timely manner, we do anticipate being able to construct this fall. So we would do the invasive species management then, and that would honestly really be appropriate for any of those methods. But I believe that we would hydroseed it would probably be the most efficient method, and we've gotten very good results doing that, especially in the fall and winter months.
Okay, thank you. And you're still waiting for the NHESP letter, correct?
Yes, that is correct. We have not received comment from them. I don't anticipate that there will be any issues there, considering the majority of their jurisdiction is seaward. And there's only, you know, a very small snippet of the project that is actually in their jurisdiction. But no, we have not received it yet.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm just happy to see him try the fiber rolls off the bat.
Yes.
Hi, Jen. So have you done this before where you fitted fiber rolls up against an existing revetment to join them?
I don't believe we've done it against a revetment. We have done it against a bulkhead. We had a project on Bass River where there was a section of the property that had been, had a bulkhead installed. And so we had to kind of fit behind and adhere to the edges of the bulkhead. So I'm hoping that this is actually a little bit easier than dealing with a bulkhead structure, but
Different,
we're
but
gonna
just,
see.
so I was just looking at so you have in the, right where the profile A line runs,
Yep.
the revetment move, and the fiber rolls cross each other. But
Yes.
what looks like part of the revetment is shaded, so I was trying to figure out how that matchup, how that work, that integration of the bulkhead and
Yes.
me going now, the fiber rolls and the revetment will work together.
So I think that what is going to be most likely, and I wish Nick could be on this afternoon, he's out in Dover at the moment, because he, I think, has a game plan in his head. But I think what we are going to try first is to I think that there is an end stone or two that are a little bit loose. So we
Yeah.
may need to move that out of the way to be able to get the fiber rolls back to an area where the revetment is still solid and where there's still contact.
Right.
And I believe that if we're able to anchor in that place, that we would then, because the fiber rolls really kind of dip back in almost behind the stones in that area because there is some scour. And so the hope is that we will be able to kind of tuck them back in, and then the stones, if we have to move any, like a couple off the end, that we'll be able to put them basically kind of back over that interface to protect the very ends of the fiber rolls a little bit. So there's no intention to change the revetment in terms of its form, in terms of its location or height or anything like that. It's just really needing to have a little bit of flexibility to work with those very end stones that
Right.
were racking at one time back into the soil, I would assume.
Right, and is there any particular protocol that would be called for to make sure that that stability of that end of that revetment is not compromised in any way by,
Compromised?
by the fiber rolls pushing behind or pushing them in some way?
Yep, the intent would be that they simply, we would not be, let's see, excavating behind any solid stones that are there or anything like that to tuck them. It would simply be finding the place where those are still solidly fitted and joining the fiber rolls at that juncture.
Okay.
And we may experience that as a part of the project that is problematic down the road. I don't know. And if we do, I guess that's where our monitoring of it and being back in touch with you comes into play, because we very well, 2-3 years down the road may need to propose a different type of transition to aid in that. I'm not sure.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns when you're doing projects like this, and that's why we have a lot of the flexibility built into the ways that we can respond and approve different changes as the need comes up. So there's nourishment proposed across the entire array of fiber rolls, and that's going to be ongoing through, perpetual.
Yes.
So we'll have a continuing condition that authorizes ongoing nourishment?
Yes, so that we can just keep them covered. We don't, in this particular case, want to keep them covered with a large volume of sediment, simply because we are trying to actively get them vegetated. And if we put too much sediment on top of them, we won't be able to get the growth of the plants and the root growth that we need to adhere into those fiber rolls. But the intent is definitely to keep them covered with enough sediment so that we can help prevent that UV degradation, and we can keep those rolls in there as long as we can intact to support that root growth.
So when we have these in orders, we've done this continually, where when the trigger for renourishment is exposure of the rolls for the what you were saying, UV purpose. Are there time of year concerns? Since most of the exposure of these rolls occurs as a result of some of the winter storms, and then the rolls can sit for months and months and months before the nourishment that occurs late spring or in the summer happens. Is that risk any kind of damage to the rolls if it goes on too long? Is there any problem with renourishing earlier in the season if they are exposed?
There's no problem with that, so to speak. It's more about if we're not at the end or reasonable end of winter storm season, and we've seen repeated efforts come through and really sweep all that nourishment away. It just kind of seems pointless, so to speak, until we get through storm season. But other sites are different, and other sites have a tendency to, unless a storm comes from just the right direction at just the right tide, they seem to persist with that nourishment for longer. Sometimes 1-2 seasons, you have still a decent amount of nourishment there. So it just kind of depends on the season and the area. I mean, this area, like I said, it had end scour for, it's been there for forever, but it was really this last storm season that they saw that move. so to speak, and it hadn't moved in quite a few years, at least not in any significant way. So my hope is that once we get this installed and going, that we will not have a constant need to re-nourish here, but certainly I'm sure it will be necessary at some point.
Yeah.
Currently, it's a very nice, gentle slope because of the erosion that did happen over the winter. So I think that hopefully will bode well in buffering anything that we may have coming up, especially as I heard the most active hurricane season predicted in a while.
It's a prediction, it's not an assurance.
We shall see.
Okay, we can definitely, and build flexibility into the order so that if exposure occurs, that there'll be consultation with the agent about when and how the best way to deal with that is, given whatever the current
even
forecast
quantity.
might be, and the
Yeah,
quantity.
even quantity.
Yep,
Yep.
and so the only
Because I
planting
feel-
that's involved above the rolls is the pre-planted materials. You're not going to be doing any planting of beach grass above, right?
You mean on top of the fiber roll installation?
Yep.
So that area right now is either naturalized or it is lawn area, depending on where along that profile it is. So whatever the case, it will be returned to that state.
Okay.
So if it's naturalized area and it's part of that invasive stuff, it will get renaturalized. If it's lawn area, I'm sure that there will be some sort of transition in there, but it will be within the limit of work returned to lawn area, so to speak.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Bob?
Jen, does it make sense to have like a temporary snow fence in front of that, just to protect that whole area while it establishes itself?
You mean on the, like
On
at the
the-
bottom
on the-
of the fiber roll?
At the
array?
bottom, yeah.
Possibly. I actually hadn't given that much consideration. I may be concerned going into storm season about a snow fence, just because I believe that it, could potentially get beaten up pretty bad. But I don't know the answer to that. Let me consider that. And since I have to come back to you once we get NHESP comment anyway, I will give you an answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Anything else? Anybody?
No?
Okay, so we're going to continue. There's not a lot that we need from you. We have the NHESP letter, and then you're going to consider the snow fence. I don't think anything else came up.
I don't have,
So when would you like to continue to?
don't say the 24th.
We should be receiving NHESP comment very soon. And I would love to get, we're not up against a super crazy hard deadline, but I would love to get the permit and everything in order as soon as we can. So, if you have room for us at your next hearing, that would be really great if we could get
Sure.
back in front of you, since it is so little work, so to speak, left.
Yep, we can do the 24th.
I just want to say, my only concern about the snow fence, if you have a bad storm, you'll be picking up pieces of snow fence down the coastline. It's a nice idea, I just don't know about after a storm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it.
And that's exactly why I wanted a moment to consider that, because I can see how that could go. I could see where it would be beneficial, but I could also see where if it's not monitored or taken out, if there is a storm, coming that may have an impact on it, it could also do just as what you said. So I will give that some consideration and get back to you with my thoughts when we're back on the 24th.
That's great, thank you. Go ahead, Elise.
Thank you so much.
I move that we continue 44 Nickerson Lane to July 24th, 2024.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. We'll see you the 24th. Okay, Paul.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
We're all set, Paul. Is he there? Paul, you there?
Coffee break.
I am.
Oh, good.
Next on the agenda is an application for a notice of intent, 26 Salt Pond Road. The applicant is 26 Salt Pond Road LLC, Limited Liability Company, map 17J, parcel 9-1, DEP number SE 103675. The project is for an extension of an existing stone revetment.
How are
Hello,
you?
Bob Perry, Cape Cod Engineering, working with the Holmes family here at 26 Salt Pond Road. This has been with you for a while, and it started out as about 110, 115-foot extension of the revetment, and through an on-site meeting, discussions with you, Ted, the applicant, we have a final revision that is a 35-foot extension. After going through this with the Holmes, their main interest was to put out the main problem, and it was a logical stopping point to keep it to the south of the existing stone steps. Probable that those stone steps would be just not entirely, that main run of steps can just stay there. But there's one step, two steps at the bottom that might get just reset in the process. The sand fill, beach grass would still remain part of this project. So we have this 35-foot extension of the existing revetment that basically takes care of that eroded scarp that you saw there. And our hope is that the remainder of the shoreline is sheltered enough, and with the nourishment, it'll just do its darndest to be stable. So that's where this is. Thanks. Oh, and one thing before I forget. In reference to the last conversation I had with you, it's 480 square feet of hard revetment that would be added to a very large area of revetment that's already there. And the notice of intent did have some areas listed in the main part of the state form, but it's quite different now. Thanks.
Yes, no, thank you, and thank you for shortening it. I appreciate that. Questions, comments?
I have a quick question. Yeah, thank you for pulling it back behind the stairs. So the area on the site plan where the extension now just says proposed, is that, see where I'm,
That is the proposed extension. I think the word extension may have slipped
that's
away,
what's
but-
missing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can just fix that because it wasn't, and because it's not designed to look like stone revetment to match the other, because to differentiate it, which makes a lot
Well,
of
it's
sense.
a line
but-
type. Yeah, the survey line type is different than the drafting line
Right.
type. It's kind of odd, but it's really just a projection that we're trying to show you the location, and
Yep.
then the profile views show you the verticals.
Yep, they're down here, they look fine. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I think we can go to an order.
Right?
How soon do you want this?
If you want to fit us in on the same August hearing, you're welcome to do it.
Great. Okay, August 7th it is.
I move that we approve the notice of intent and prepare the order of conditions for 26 Salt Pond Road at the hearing on August 7th, 2024.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. We'll see you the 7th.
See you in a few minutes. Thank you.
Yeah.
What else does he have? Oh, salt pond,
Yeah, he's-
Mary Molden, okay.
Ah. Paul?
Yes. just
We're
waiting
ready.
for- Go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay. No problem. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent application for 30 Sears Point Lane. The applicant is McClay Family Property Limited Liability Company, map 11A1, parcel 6-4, DEP number SE 103677. The project is proposed waterfront maintenance.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley on behalf of the McClay family with Catherine Ricks from Time Bond. Catherine's going to be doing the heavy lifting today. This is a property that's been in the family for generations. as we've discussed in the past, and they want to take steps to put protection in place that will, so they'll be able to continue to use it for future generations. Catherine?
So we've been here in front of you guys before, and we have the existing conditions plan, which you are aware, there's a lot of timber structures out there that are kind of deteriorating, and some bank that's got invasive species. So our revised plan includes removal of the timber bulkheads that are out there and replaced with one single timber bulkhead close to the bottom of the bank, the toe of the bank, inside landward of that previous seaward bulkhead there. And the timber bulkhead will be offset from the property lines at each end and have returns. On the northwest end, it will be offset from the property line and then have fiber rolls from the return to the abutting property with permission of the abutting property owner who has fiber rolls on her property as well. And then we propose nourishment on the bank side, on the landward side of the bulkhead to fill in there. The bulkhead is proposed to a +9 elevation. The base flood elevation in this location is 13, so we're staying a little bit lower than that. And then we propose, in-kind replacement of the stairs, just because some of the stairs are starting to rot, so just in-kind replacement, no change to the design. And then the groins, the timber groins that are in the salt marsh, we propose to leave in place to not touch the salt marsh, but if the commission would like us to remove some of the boards above the salt marsh or the full boards, that can be conditioned as well.
Great. Anyone? Questions, comments?
Okay. So the groins, I understand not removing them for risk of the damage to the salt marsh, but are you talking about cutting them to flush to the?
So if the commission would like that, yes, we can have them cut flush.
Yes, I
That's
mean,
just-
I'm gonna turn over here and say, my semi-informed reaction is that restoring the sediment flow is such an important thing that cutting them flush would mean ultimately they will either appear or disappear depending upon the sediment, and that's probably better than leaving them anywhere in place where they could be blocking it.
Yes, so would that, I guess in a way, there's posts out there and then there's the timber groins. Would it be a condition to remove flush and then if in the future additional boards are visible, remove those as well? Without, as long as there's no damage to salt marsh, I'm just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but a continuing condition to keep them more or less flush to
Yeah,
that may
that would be-
not, that's gonna change so much. I think
Right.
that
Yeah.
one cut, at
Okay.
least I would say one cut and see what nature does. And if it becomes, maybe we can say if it becomes a problem, if there's evidence that it's blocking sediment flow and it's causing a problem,
We're
then
sure
you
the
can,
people who walk the beach are gonna let us know.
you generally will hear from them.
That's-
I have a question about the location. So the landward, the existing bulkhead is right up against the toe of the bank. There's the funny sort of useless seaward one that's not really doing much of anything. And you're proposing to put it in between those two?
Yes, I can show. So.
Through the chair, if I may.
That's the one that's seaward and that's the one that's landward.
And you
have
can't
to be
talk
at
when
the
you're over
mic.
there, sorry. Karen, somebody
So
wants to say something.
those are the
Yeah, I
two
know.
lines, the one that's seaward and landward, so it's kind of right in between
Right.
those.
Right.
So it's more of at the toe of the bank, so that when we fill it, that bank will have more of a stable slope.
Well, that's where I was going with this question, is why would you not put it right at the toe of the bank?
The stability of so we can make a more gentle slope to that bank. When they redo the mitigation on that bank, it'll be more of a stable slope. Right now, it's kind of a steeper slope.
It's dropping off as it comes down to that. So if you move it out here and then you fill the area in between.
So it's gonna be more of a stable slope there.
It creates a more gradual slope, I see.
All right, somebody else wanted to speak? I can't tell who it is.
Yeah, my name's Ryan Kavanaugh with Ty and Bond. I'm helping Catherine present today. I just wanted to note that the location of the bulkhead is kind of a medium distance outshore of the existing upper bulkhead. It doesn't run truly parallel to the beach and to the water line. So we kind of picked a line of best fit.
Okay.
Okay, Thank you.
I hate to be in a stick in the mud here, but, you know, when I look at these things and for, you know, revetments and bulkheads, I mean, I really don't see any erosion. I mean, I don't see it, it's not terrible, where the bulkhead is. I mean, I see the area on the west side, and that's great, you're fixing that, but, to me, I just don't even see the necessary reason to have one.
Well, Eric, right now, there are two bulkheads there. So the option is we either leave them there, or we improve the situation by taking the lower one out, putting one in that's effective in reducing the steepness of the bank. So we think that the proposal is a vast improvement over what's there existing.
Is there a record of when that bulkhead was put in, or who put it in?
Well, it was-
Or was that Hinckley's Home Center? And
Well, that was when your father was a baby,
Yeah, but-
everything was put in there.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, that's, you know, I don't know. I mean, if we put in bulkheads and revetments, because what could happen down the road, I just look at it and, you know, I see those, what do you call those pieces of wood sticking out? What do you call them?
Groins.
They're calling them groins
Groins,
because they're perpendicular to the
Yeah,
beach.
perpendicular to shoreline is a groin.
Yeah.
So part of the reason you can't see some of the erosion on the bank is the invasive species. They kind of cover it, but when you look closely there, you can see some erosion patches behind the bulkhead. So there's been overwash on the existing bulkheads that have caused some erosion on that bank. It's not as visible because of all the invasive species that are covering it this time.
And, Eric, we're getting rid of the dreaded scourge of Japanese knotweed.
Well, yeah, you probably would do that anyway.
Well, that's the fantasy of the
You're right.
Conservation Commission, but in reality, it's a balance between the two.
Yeah. I just not, you know, what if that scarping on the west side was, you know, was because of the board sticking out to begin with? I don't know, but
Well, Eric, do a little history. You know, the property to the, I think actually it's north, but I'm not absolutely certain, which is Bartlett, and then the property north of that is McDonald. And so McDonald was having substantial erosion, so we ended up putting in a rock revetment and then fiber rolls. And the Bartletts resisted doing anything because they thought they didn't have to, and then all of a sudden, their stuff started eroding. So they put in fiber rolls for almost the entire length of their property. So what we're doing is anticipating the need to protect, and we're joining with the Bartletts by putting our fiber rolls right to the property line. So this is a situation that has been developing for years. And so all we want to do is protect our piece now in a manner that makes the most sense.
So I know, Catherine, you said that you have permission to tie in fiber rolls to the neighbor. I'm not seeing that on the plan. I'm assuming maybe this is something that has happened recently, and, because I see that there's the proposed bulkhead, and it's a 10-foot property setback, but I'm not seeing that any fiber rolls are reflected on the plan.
We have that, right there at the edge is the kind of a grouping for the fiber rolls. And we have it proposed, but only if agreed
right there.
upon by the abutting
I was
neighbor.
looking on the wrong
So
side.
that
If-
hasn't
if-
happened yet? That's
Well,
still,
we've been having discussions with the Bartletts, particularly Sonia Bartlett.
Sorry, I was looking the wrong side.
yeah, no, I saw,
It's
but,
okay.
so that you don't yet have that agreement, so
No.
that
Well,
will,
we don't have
So we're-
we don't have the design approved yet either, so.
okay, but what, yeah, it's a chicken and egg problem. So what if we approve this and then you don't get that, or?
Well, we anticipate that, because of the conversation we've had to date, we believe if you approve this, we'll be able to we'll have the permission to do it.
Okay.
Or it can be conditioned that they can't be installed until agreement with the abutting property owner.
Craig wants to say something.
Yes. Go ahead, Craig.
Now's a good time. Greg Berman, Director of Natural Resources. Just Ted Keon, Coastal Resource Director, and myself have been to this site. One of the things that we had chatted about was that this is a sediment source bank. It's probably not providing a tremendous volume, but it certainly is providing something over time. It might be appropriate for the commission to consider some kind of compensatory sand nourishment, probably, in front of that bulkhead. And then, I leave it up for the engineers and consultants to figure out whether it would be an annual amount or a trigger amount, because it's a relatively low volume in this area.
Okay.
Yes, and I think Ryan can speak to this too, but Ryan and I were discussing a potential trigger point of about 6 inches above the existing beach elevation, some kind of marking or nail on the bulkhead, which then anyone could visibly see if they go out there and do monitoring, maybe every 6 months or every year. Look for that trigger point, and if it goes below that, then just fill up to that. So we wouldn't be filling a large amount that would then wash right off into the salt marsh. It would be a small amount to keep that nourishment there.
Yeah, we want to protect the salt marsh too.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Can I join remotely?
Could you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Bill McClay. I am the manager of the property for my family. I just wanted to speak to two things. The first was we would be willing to install the fiber roll and on our property. So if that's a question. I know that it's not a popular opinion, but the bulkhead that is now along about the high tide mark has been maintained. All that and the groins have been there for many, many decades, from before I was born. And the bulkhead that's closest to the Bartlett's, we have not maintained. And that actually is where recently the most eroded part of the bank has occurred. So I know in terms of the edge what's thought, but I can just say in reality, it's been with the not maintaining of that, which it's at that time that the steep erosion showed up on our property and the Bartlett's. That's all I had to say.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any comments, questions, commissioners?
I have a concern. How about taking before pictures of the salt marsh before the project starts, and then after the fact, after it's completed?
Yeah, we can do that. That can be a condition in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
So you're going to replace the elevated timber stairs?
Where they need to be replaced, yes, some of them are deteriorating and rotting, but not the entire staircase. So we just kind of want it in this order of conditions so that they can replace the boards if necessary or something.
Okay, so it's just individual boards as needed. The entire structure is not being removed and rebuilt?
That's correct.
Not at this time, no, there's no need to do that.
And do you know offhand what are you going to replace the boards in same material, to what's there, or?
I would believe it would still be replaced with timber, which is what's there right now.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, it's currently pressure treated wood, and that's what we'd replace it with.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions, concerns? Bob?
Just wondered if there could be some kind of an edging or something at the top of the coastal bank by the edge of the plantings. Is that necessary?
So this plan is the proposed plan from Wilkinson. This is more of an older plan, hasn't been fully updated yet, but you're discussing edging at the top of the bank, like right along the top, or?
Right.
Just so that they don't go.
Just for protection, yeah.
I think that would, Katrine, I believe, is on, and I think
Yes.
she would be able to answer that question.
Hi, good afternoon, Katrine Higgins from Wilkinson Ecological Design. Yeah, what would you have in mind for that?
I don't know, maybe some larger stone, or it wouldn't have to be a continuous run of metal edging or anything like that. Maybe something more natural, informal.
Yeah, I think we'd like to work with the homeowner to kind of figure out exactly what they would be okay with too. So if you were all right at conditioning some sort of delineation there, but then giving us a little flexibility to figure out exactly what that would be in terms of material. But if you're talking about maybe some stones placed every 20 feet or something, I don't know. But
Yeah, you know, I think we're flexible, just something to protect that area and just so it's a little bit delineated, that would be good.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that, and thanks for that reminder, Bob. As I look at it, the planting plan stops at the top of the coastal bank. So there's no plan for a vegetated buffer strip at the top to prevent any kind of erosion from the top?
Well, we'd be happy to do like a 2-foot buffer strip.
2
right
foot?
at the top.
2 foot?
Okay, 3 feet.
I do worry about that brick patio there because it is so close. That brick patio is only a handful of feet off the top of the bank. So it would seem to me that if that patio stays, and I'm pretty sure there's no permit for it, but I don't know, it would minimally need a vegetated buffer strip between the patio and the top of the bank. And that would be best to run along the whole bank.
All right, we can have Katrin do a follow-on plan to show that.
Right.
And if you did that, then, and you put in the right kind of plantings there, then that would be obvious and you wouldn't need to do necessarily a boulders or a strip. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I
So
just,
I think that potentially makes sense. I just wanted to be clear that the contours there pretty quickly go away from the bank. Basically, the grades are, the highest point of the grades are probably 10 feet back, or it depends on where. In some places, it's right at the edge of the bank in terms of water erosion. What you're suggesting is not, I don't think is objectionable, but I was just making the point, it's not like the bank goes to a hillside with water coming down the hillside.
Thank you. Eric, what were you going to say?
well, I'm only one vote here, but once you put a revetment or a bulkhead in, that's the end of the sediment movement. That's it. It's it's a blockade of movement. I mean, I see a little erosion on the edge, but I don't, I really don't see much there. But anyway, that's it. Thanks.
So, if nobody else says anything else, what I'm seeing is that we would like a vegetated buffer strip about 3 feet at the top of the bank to be added to the mitigation plan or restoration plan. You've said you could do photos of the salt marsh before and after. That would be a condition. The stairs are replaced in kind. I think we're all set with that. Was there anything else that we need modified or them to come back with? All I'm thinking is the restoration plan.
Well, if you want to do a condition regarding
Right, the
approval of
groins.
the neighbor.
Yeah,
And Katrin, and the idea would be Katrin will
Right.
revise the plan and submit it, and hopefully we can come back in August and get an order.
Do you want anything in there on the compensatory sand management that?
Well, that will go into the order.
mitigation?
Yeah,
Right.
that's not something they need to come back with. And hopefully the neighbor would give you something soon, and then that would be included as well.
And we'll reach out to her
That'd be terrific.
right away.
So you're thinking which meeting in August?
Katrine, do you have an idea of when you would like to have the next hearing, because she'd be the one revising a plan, so I don't know.
Wait,
The sooner the better.
okay, so it would be August 7th, but somebody else has their hand up. I can't read the name. Yeah, is it? Okay, Sonia Bartlett, you've got the floor. Just identify yourself and you're set.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm the neighbor,
Right.
and I don't know if this is the right opportunity to speak, but I just thought I'd raise my hand so that you didn't close out without talking with us as well.
We're not planning to close this hearing at this point, but we are happy to hear from you now.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. This is the first time that I'm seeing this plan, so I'd really like to get some more detail, but we are very happy to see that the McClays would like to attach the fiber rolls to ours. We think that's really the best way to go. But we do feel very strongly that those groins all be removed or leveled. In addition, there are a lot of posts and stumps and even some very short spiky pieces out there that are really a hazard to the public, and we would love to see that included in your order of conditions, that all that go together to make the area conforming and safe. Additionally, we are curious about a possible dinghy storage or management system. We do worry when we see the kayaks and the dinghies thrown on top of the beach grass, on top of this bulkhead, that it is killing the beach grass that is still there. And while we're still processing the design and rejiggering all this, maybe there's an opportunity to put it in some sort of a dinghy storage rack or something so that that beach grass can be protected at the top of that bulkhead. And there's a lot of sort of dangerous objects that are embedded in the bank right now that I don't know if that's something that you can put on your order of conditions, but there's a couple of rusty mushrooms, things that are really hazardous. So we would love to see that be a part of this. But the big thing for us really is the groins, and we really would really appreciate if those could come out and the whole area could be much more safe for people to cross.
Yes, and they have said they are removing the groins. That's in the plan.
That's great. We appreciate that.
We're lowering them
Right, leveling them.
to ground level.
I thought some
But
were being removed.
not just the groins, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of posts and little stumps that are not
Right.
attached
Oh,
to
and
the
those
groins
things-
anymore.
those-
I don't know if those are in their own category. Just want to make sure that those get listed as well.
We would say anything that's protruding from the sand will be reduced to the level of the dirt.
Yeah, that's what they had said.
Great.
And the other one
Great,
is,
thank you
and
very
the debris that's in the bank as part of the restoration plan is that those will be removed from the site and disposed of correctly.
Can you speak to the dinghies and kayaks?
Bill, do you want to speak to that? We can definitely look into and discuss with Bill about
Okay.
doing the rack for the kayak rack or a dinghy storage rack.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't
Yeah,
discussed.
that, currently they're on the sand part, not on the grass, but we would have no problem with making racks and putting them in racks.
That
Okay,
would be wonderful.
If
Thank you.
that-
They do wind up on the grass a lot.
okay, if that could be also reflected in the plans, where the rack will be and that there will be racks or a rack, I'd appreciate it. So I don't think that there's anything that can prevent us from going to an order. Anybody? What? Yeah, the vegetate, but Katrine's going to do that.
As long as we can approve that at the
Yeah,
same time, that's
so
fine.
Katrine, when can you have the plan to us? Can you get it to us before the 24th?
Definitely.
Yeah, but then we could go to August 7th for the order, which is what they're wanting. Does that work, Katrine?
Definitely. Yep. Sounds
Okay.
good.
So what we'll do is we will continue this to the 24th and then have the buffer strip, and maybe you can also on the site plan get us a new site plan with just the kayak rack.
Yep.
And then we should be pretty set
Great.
for the next meeting. All right, so we need a
I move that we continue 30 Sears Point Lane to July 24th, 2024.
Second.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
And I say aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Paul.
Okay, Madam Chair, thank you. Next on the agenda is a request for an emergency certification order. The address is 2 Salt Pond Road. The applicant is Gerald Milden, map 17J, parcel 7-4. This is a collapse revetment with a segment of concern, section of concern for catastrophic collapse by loss of underlying material. Just quickly, some background. Bob and I spoke last week on this project. I went out and took a look at the site. Ted has written a letter
Yes.
supporting the emergency cert. He's dealing with this property. As you know, we've had a failed revetment on the site once before. So I'd recommend issuing the emergency cert, but I know Bob's there to discuss what's going on. Bob, through the chair.
Thank you, Bob.
So, yes, Bob Perry, Cape Cod Engineering, working with Milden property at 2 Salt Pond Road. Something, just a background for you, in 2009, 2008, the revetments along there were constructed to replace timber bulkheads. At that time, I think you may be aware that you could walk around Minister's Point at low tide and your feet would be dry. So the morphology of the barrier beach and the internal channels in the harbor have created something that was, I wouldn't say unexpected, but definitely a surprise for the severity. And that is when we do designs on these, we make every effort to get tow stones as deep as possible, as practical, with a reasonable view toward the future. But the depth of water at this location, right at the point, went from 0 at mean low water, which you had dry land, to a 12 to 18-foot depth. Not unlike a circumstance that you were dealing with earlier in this hearing. Except, I think we have a different geology. We don't know everything about what's underground here, but Minister's Point is an outcropping of a glacial moraine, different than an outwash plain outcropping of looser, unconsolidated sand. And in 2018, when we had the dramatic change, we had a very severe collapse on the same revetment, but to the north. Contractor Easy Does It was one willing to come in and work on that, and they did a very impressive effort, effectively within the same footprint, except for the sliding stones, to stabilize it. What's happened here recently, not knowing anything about whether we've had a dramatic deepening of the bottom, it doesn't appear that we have. It appears as though the toe shifted, and there was a slide of the face, and you can see it kept quite a bit of itself together. It left the bedding stone in place. Behind that bedding stone, there's filter cloth, and we can't predict what's going to happen here, but the immediate choice is to bring someone in who can place replacement armor stones to cover up the chips, so that if a storm occurs, the ravaging of the higher water with storm wave energy won't scatter those chips out, ruin the fabric, and cause for a severe collapse of the upland. And that is the work that is proposed through the emergency. The access is exactly as it was in 2018. It would be probably a day, and I expect that there would either be some minor lawn disturbance or some mats would be used, and there'd still be a little bit of scuffing to the lawn, but that would be it. There's, like I said, no prediction, and I know we have a notice of intent obligation following up from the emergency. A plan was put forward here, but the order expired to create it's not the best technical solution, but it was an immediate stopgap to save the building, and that was a very, very significant steel sheet pile wall that had a large amount of stone seaward of it that would basically be a collapsed revet. And you take all of this rock and you leave it seaward of the steel sheet, creating a lower cap for the steel sheet so you don't have some monstrosity out there. You basically try to step the shore. Looking at the last project that you reviewed on a similar problem, where strong currents, where you've got these dramatic changes, where in that case there's probably a 3-foot tide range difference at high tide between Nantucket Sound and portions of the Atlantic Ocean and Chatham Harbor, which is forcing that water through. We don't have that here. So we doubt we'll get the depth, but they did have a similar circumstance down off south of the lighthouse, actually, I should say north of the lighthouse, where there was one inlet, one constriction, and the water was 60 to 70 feet deep 10 years ago. So I can't predict for you what we're coming back with here as far as a future design, or if I will even be in my wheelhouse. So this is a limited amount of work while we explore contingencies for taking future action in a manner that's more predictable. I'm not looking to play chance with the coast, but the coast does play chance with us. But this is a limited amount of work, and there's your access on the left side of the house. And that, the collapse we're looking for, I didn't circle it on here, but you can see it in the photo, but it's seaward of the deck, of the square deck. If we go to the right side of the home, right in just in that area to the left of that slightly. So we have a terrific current through there, and I'm hoping that it would abate, but we don't know. So that's my speech.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments? Bob, go ahead.
Hi, Bob again. How are
Hi,
you?
very well, thanks, Bob.
The access route over the lawn with the machinery, wouldn't it be easier to deal with this from a barge?
Well, barge is very expensive, and it does need to get close. If you think about where this is, I mean, an excavator sitting on a barge would be leaning out, pitching stones with loads outward from the barge, and I don't think it's necessary. A mid-sized excavator can come in here. We don't want to put massive rocks on this patch. The patch is higher up. We don't want to overload the stones below. So I think it's a very concise and manageable job from the upland.
And was that sheet pile wall, or was that inserted at all, or was it?
That was never done.
Never
And
done.
it would be
Okay.
landward of the cap.
So I remember that coming before us. Okay, yeah, I was out there yesterday, and I can see the way it was slumping. Yeah.
Yep.
And what about under the water? What's going on there? Do you know?
Well, we've tried to get a visual on it. You can still see the toe stones are collected sitting on a slope. When you think about this slide happening, it had some impetus and momentum to it when it occurred, and it came to rest. So with that momentum, it fetched up and stopped. So there's the general sense that the stones are now in a more stable resting position. if the bottom scours below them and they're not laying back on the bank, they could continue to move. This is really, this effort is temporary stopgap, and you can see the bottom there. So we're lucky in that regard. And whether this was just something that was going to happen anyway, once that, what was a sand, or it was really a very stony sand flat or intertidal dry area, you know, this could have been a location of instability that finally moved. I just don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? I mean, obviously, I can see that something needs to be done. So with that, if nobody else has any questions or comments, we can do a motion.
I do, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
I'm sorry, Paul, didn't see you had your hand
Oh,
up.
that's okay. No, that's perfectly fine. May I ask a question? To
Absolutely.
Bob, through you, please?
Absolutely.
So Bob, do you have any contractors lined up? The issue being when I would insert a date if the commission approves the emergency cert today, so that we can work within 30 days. So the commission would then just sign the order, but we'd insert a date that was appropriate given your ability to get contractors to do the work.
We've been in touch with the folks that did the work the last time. They've expressed an interest, and I do not have a date. They understand the urgency of it. What would be recommended, since we have 30 days to accomplish the work, if you can date that emergency authorization 10 days from now, then that gives us some time to discover a better understanding for the schedule. It's really a short amount of work. So if we can fit someone in, say the lag time between our trigger date and our sunset date, that will help. But I think we can certainly have this work done within 40 days. I'd like to see it within 2 weeks, but I can't guarantee it.
Yeah, that's fine. I just didn't want to insert a date that would be a problem if you can't find anybody. We can just hold off and put a date in, and you can inform us when your contractors are ready to go, and we'll just put the date in. I did check with DEP, we're allowed to do that, so.
That's huge. I appreciate that, and I think that's our best bet. If you'll allow it, we'll be in close contact with you day to day.
Okay. If that's okay with the commission?
Absolutely, that's what we've done in the
That's
past.
That's the best way. It's a busy time of year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I move that we approve the emergency order for 2 Salt Pond Road with the provision that the date be set with the agent appropriately.
Second. Well done.
Janet?
Aye.
Lise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And
Yeah,
I
it's
say aye.
Thank you for that. I'll convey it to the owner, and we'll keep busy with it. And
Great.
take care. Bye.
Okay, Paul, next thing.
Next thing on the agenda is a certificate of compliance request. The address is 23 Oyster Pond Lane. Excuse me. Oyster Pond Nominee Trust is the owner. Map 13E, parcel JB1, SE10 3472, the project bank stabilization and stairway replacement project. Just want to compliment Sean on this beautiful application that you sent in. Very complete.
Very.
Everything is here, photographs. The project, basically an order was issued back in 2021 that authorized the removal of existing damaged stairway, removal of a portion of existing chain link fence, removal of clay layer, installation of crushed stone to allow proper drainage, stabilization of the coastal bank, regrading of the bank, and installation of choir rolls and blankets, mitigation plantings, and warming and seating. And then after that, all of that was done, they did build a portion of the staircase over again. Sean also pointed out that there was a minor deviation in the orders and, you know, what you're required to do in the COC request. that there was a small kayak storage area that was built into the staircase. I went out and took some pictures and looked at it, and I think you will probably all have too. It's a very minor deviation, and actually probably a good idea to keep the kayaks up off the beach. So everything's been submitted. I have a certification, an as-built plan, pictures, certification from the mitigation folks that plantings have been done and completed, photos, and everything is here. So I would recommend approval of the COC.
Sean, do you have anything to add? Sean, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you. Just for the record, Sean Riley, Ty and Bond for the applicant. Thank you. Carla actually put the package together, and we're following the new template from Ty and Bond. And you'll see all of our applications for COCs will look like this.
Wow.
So, yep. And yes, just to reiterate, getting the kayaks off of the bank and off of the vegetation was a great idea. It wasn't something we had proposed. It was something that they'd added, and I think it's an easy modification for you all to approve if you see fit.
Okay, anybody have any questions? No, we're ready for a motion.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance for 23 Oyster Pond Lane.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
right, we'll see
Okay, Paul, we're back to the enforcement.
back to,
And no one is here.
No one is here.
I've written
I
my
guess I'll read the legal ad one more time.
Yeah,
This is an enforcement order, 32 Mill Hill Road. John McGrath is the owner. Map 4H, parcel 23-C12. Storing and dumping of hazardous debris and materials within 100 feet of a pond and a bordering vegetated wetland. We've already had a discussion on it. So whatever your pleasure is here, I think we should probably vote to, what did I say? I can't even remember. So going on.
I've got it, Paul. I wrote down your words as you spoke.
Oh, great. All right.
Shorthand.
Shorthand then longhand, so I could read it.
Thank you.
On 32 Mill Hill Road, I move that we find that since Mr. McGrath failed to appear at today's hearing and he continues to be in violation of the enforcement order, we refer the matter to town council for further consideration.
second.
Excellent.
Second, definitely.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, next, Paul.
Any unforeseen items brought before the commission? I have none. I don't know if anyone else does, and there are no
Nope.
minutes.
I have a question. Did we do the billing, 0 and 17?
Yes.
Oh, we did all that. Everything's done.
Yes.
Everything's moved.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know we were skipping around.
Nope, we've done everything. Okay, we have a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
I say aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Survived.